So folks, I'm going to be 100% honest with you all here. I did not have a Planetside 2 video on my bingo card for 2024, at least not in the first 2 months of the year anyways. But we have just gotten some absolutely out-of-pocket, completely blindsiding news that, despite me stepping away from the game, I feel like we just have to talk about here on the channel. The Planetside intellectual property has been allegedly sold by Daybreak Games for a cool, crisp $5.9 million. It's quite the development for the franchise that has left a lot of people in the community speculating like mad and somewhat even concerned for the Planetside future. So, g'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today we need to have a very brutal and real conversation about what the sale of the Planetside franchise may mean for the future of this IP, and sit back because this is a big one to talk about. Alright, so let's go over what we know so far, folks, because I know that this is going to be news to a lot of you out there, especially for those who, don't live on the Planetside subreddit. Also, be sure to swing by our Twitch channel, link in the description down below, so we can discuss this on our live streams as well. Always keen to keep the conversation going with you guys. But yes, Enad Global 7, or EG7, the ultimate holders of Daybreak Games and all captured subsidiaries, have reported that they've successfully closed the sale of a non-core IP for $5.9 million. The Planetside community was quick to speculate that this line did in fact speak to the Planetside franchise, given that there had been a lacking appearance of Planetside related news in previous reports of similar nature from EG7. Fast forward to a couple of days ago, and a copyright filing was found online for a reassignment of the Planetside IP copyright, moving from the current owners of Daybreak Games LLC to Bay Tree Tower Limited. This sale was closed in late January and encapsulates all titles under the Planetside name, including Planetside 1, 2, and Arena. Ultimately, a complete and total acquisition of the intellectual property. Now, at this stage, it's unclear as to how this impacts the operational arrangements of Planetside 2 as it currently stands, and what Rogue Planet Games' responsibilities are in relation to the game going forward. Ultimately, as far as we know, Rogue Planet Games is still the developing game studio for the Planetside IP, and still own and operate the infrastructure that is responsible for keeping Planetside 2 online, of which is still ultimately held by Daybreak. This was not an acquisition at a company and asset level, it was merely an acquisition of copyright. So we have yet to hear more about how this acquisition will impact Rogue Planet Games' relationship to the Planetside franchise going forward, and how the assets that are critical to operating Planetside, such as server infrastructure, is going to be handled. It's possible that Daybreak will continue to act as a third-party publisher to the Planetside IP, but again, this is all speculative at this point. Ultimately, Bay Tree Tower Limited are now the creative owners and are now directors of the Planetside franchise intellectual property. So, just who are these new glorious overlords to the Planetside RP? Are they a subsidiary of a well-known publisher or a developer? Well, at this stage, we just don't bloody know yet. At this stage, Bay Tree Tower Limited have no clear prior presence in the gaming industry and appear to be a shell company with no other holdings. There's been some searches done online by the community at this point, and that's come up with very little information as to who their potential owners are at the higher level as well, which has obviously got some people a bit concerned as well. It's worth highlighting here that in the grand old world of business, it's incredibly common for companies to establish quote-unquote special purpose vehicles, or shell companies, to acquire certain assets. It creates specific targeted objectives for a company, it introduces individual liabilities, and is often used to isolate financial risk from an acquisition. And I'm going to be honest here, there's a lot of financial risk from acquiring the Planetside IP in its current state to investors. So, a creative shell company-esque that isolates that risk from someone else and from core investors isn't too far-fetched here. However, the lacking connection to the gaming industry at this time and the lack of information about just how far this acquisition extends beyond the IP, if at all, raises a lot of questions as to what the future of the Planetside franchise looks like. We know that Rogue Planet Games had plans to work on updating some of the game's core balance and systems, and I'm sure we'll learn in due time as to whether these priorities are going to stay the course for the long run. But as we said before, the community speculation train has been going full tilt since the news came to light. Some are very clearly taking the doom and gloom route, predicting that this is signaling the end for the game, while others are seeing this as interest from an investor, which in turn reflects an interest in developing the franchise further, maybe, just maybe, with the idea of pushing out a sequel. And look, for all we know, guys, that could very well be the intention here. And if that ends up being the case, I will be right there with you guys in eagerly watching from the sidelines to see what happens with the Planetside series going forward. But I also do want to use this video as an opportunity to really set some grounded realities and expectations for a lot of you out there. Because while yes, I do appreciate the optimism that's out there from some members of the community regarding this investment, I also have a very sneaking suspicion that the future development of the franchise is not going to be what a lot of people want it to be, per se, as a result of this investment. I actually agree that at the end of the day, a purchase like this does potentially represent interest in the Planetside IP that otherwise wouldn't be there. An investor wouldn't make a purchase like this unless they saw some sort of commercial rationale behind it, or an ability to use the IP to make a return on said investment. Now, whether they achieve that return on investment through the existing game or through additional games coming out later down the line, who knows? But it potentially means more active development for the Planetside IP. Great stuff. However, we also all know that the Planetside franchise has always had a bit of a rough run commercially. To me, it really doesn't represent the kind of investment that I would typically expect a company to pursue. In my time of returning to the game, just to get the background gameplay footage for this video, it became incredibly clear to me just how frustrating the game continues to be for the majority of its potential player base that's out there, that being first-person shooter players. I'm not going to start venting my frustrations with the game here again in this video, because that's been plenty documented over the years, and well, I feel like I'd just be either beating a dead horse or preaching to the choir here, so I'm not going to kick the game too much while it's down here. But we know that Planetside 2 is a free-to-play game that bounces the majority of its potential customer base before they even get around to spending money in the first place. Commercially, the IP doesn't make sense in its current form to invest into, which indicates to me that in order for this investor or buyer to make their return on investment, some changes need to happen to the game or what the game will be in the event a sequel releases. Planetside as a concept is one of the best out there. Don't get me wrong, I love it from head to toe, and what it promises to achieve is one of the most unique and interesting ideas out there in the first-person shooter world. But there's simply no denying it, folks. Categorically, the game has continued to fail on the execution of that concept, and therefore failed to capture a wide variety of players in the long run. At least enough so to make the game commercially viable. And to my Planetside faithful out there, I feel like that's the greatest fear that you should be carrying in relation to this acquisition. I don't think there's a likelihood here that the game is going to shut down overnight. I think that much can be put to rest. And I think there's also a very strong chance here that Planetside 2 itself may have just bought itself another year or two in rotation for active development. But the focus for this new owner is likely going to be making something from their investment. So in the short term, you may see some more egregious monetization methods make their way to the game to, make a pretty penny off of you guys that are still playing the game. But in the long term, should we see a sequel come about, I don't think it's going to follow the traditional Planetside design philosophy or be the Planetside game that the majority want to see out there. In fact, I would half expect the game to take a departure similar to that of Planetside Arena. And no, Planetside Arena didn't capture the interest of the existing Planetside fanbase, but the existing Planetside fanbase is also paled in comparison to the wider gaming market. And if I was an investor right now, seeking total commercial viability for an investment that I just made into the gaming space, I would be asking myself, how would I best use this IP to capture that wider audience for the long run to make a return on my investment? And realistically, frankly speaking, I think the MMO FPS archetype that Planetside has operated under all this time is possibly likely to get dropped in favor of something that is more approachable, more profitable, and more enjoyable for a wider audience. Now personally, I'll be doing what I've been doing for Planetside for a while now, watching from the sidelines, eagerly awaiting for news. While my frustrations as to what the game has become over the years has kept me from playing it daily, I do still like to keep an eye on things because, well, I played this game for 10 years, right? It's hard to just separate yourself from that part of your life in a way. And for those who are still enjoying Planetside 2, continue enjoying it. I doubt the game is going anywhere anytime soon at the end of the day. Ultimately, shutting down a game just after you've made an investment into it doesn't make commercial viability sense to me, but, stranger things have happened, I guess, as well. So enjoy the game while you can if you choose to do so. And with that, we'll just have to sit back, and wait and see what happens. If you guys enjoyed today's video, a backing and the like button would go a long way, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing whilst you're at it, guys. We do a lot of different style of gaming content here on the channel, and also come check out our streams over on Twitch, link in the description down below at the top. It'd be great to have you guys over there as well, as we do get up to some pretty hilarious bants over there too. And as always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But for now, folks, I hope you have a good one. Peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.